Hey guys, what's up? I was just gonna go through some stuff on the whole massing and site, doing massing components and all that other whatnot for assembling cabinets and that good stuff. So I guess we'll start it off pretty easy. Adding cabinets is kind of a fairly standard thing. There's actually cabinet components that you can add into the project. So you want to go over to Component tab here. You can just click on that right away. It's going to ask me to save the project, so I can just save it. Shoot. Yeah, save it as that. Cool. Well, whatever. So I'm going to go Loom Family, and I can do some basic casework here. Then I can do anything from the base cabinets, the countertops, shelving units, tall cabinets, and wall cabinets. So base cabinets being the ones that sit on the floor and you put the countertop on top of. Countertops are simply the countertops. Shelving I haven't explored too much into there, but we can just peer in here. It looks just like a closet shelf and stuff like that. That's the only thing that's in there, so that's all good. Then we have tall cabinets, which are ones that go from the floor to like top of the ceiling, or the bottom underside of the ceiling there. So those can be useful. Not going to use a whole ton of them. I don't use them very often. Then there's wall cabinets, which are the ones that are going to be above the countertops that are mounted on the walls. So these ones are actually an important thing to note. These are usually double the width of the base cabinets that we mentioned earlier, because well, when you think about it, you got two doors on either side, so when you open them up in the middle, they're going to obviously have to be 2 times the width of one of the units. So again, we'll see the reason for that later. So we'll start out with some base cabinets. Over here on the side, it obviously shows you what it's going to look like in 3D mode, hidden line mode actually. So we can go through there. We can see there's the one with the 2 bins, drawers, you can name it, it's here. Just to start, we're going to start out with where is the one I like? Single door and drawer. I like this one, and right now what I'm doing is I'm going to use the Control tab so I can select multiple cabinet types at one time. I'm going to click on one, do Control, and then double door sink unit, double door and drawer, and then we'll do some angled, and let's do 4 drawers. So release the Control button, and then we're just going to open it. So that's loaded. As you'll see, it's loaded all of the cabinet types that I've just selected in here. There's some stuff from previously in the project that you'll see, but mostly all the cabinets stay the same because they're base cabinets. They start alphabetically exactly the same with everyone. So this one is just easy as point and click. So let's say we want base cabinet 4 drawers, 24 inches wide. 24 inches denotes the width. And an important part to note is that the crosshair on my cursor has now become is actually the back of the cabinet, I believe. So if we put this in here, I already have a 3D view set up. So if I place this here, we'll be able to see. So we have to remember now, I just hit escape there. The back of the cabinet should be facing this way, if I am correct in saying that. So 3D view 4, that's not the one I want. Let's try 3. Here we go. And as it turns out, I was correct. So I'm going to change so what I'm going to do here so that we can see that half of the cabinet is below the floor and half of it's above, which is clearly not what we want. The problem is because the base constraint of the object is left on the finish grade. So all that we're going to do here is click on here, and there's a little drop down tab. Drop it down, we're going to say to finish floor. And then note when my mouse remains in the properties tab, there is it's not updated yet. As soon as I move my mouse off of the tab, right now, it updates it immediately. So just something to keep in mind if you change it and then, say, what the heck's going on here? It's not changing. That's the reason why. So now that we see that, we can look here, click it, and if we want to flip it around, hit the space bar, and that will flip it the first time. We'll flip it left to right. So if we're thinking in AutoCAD, Autodesk speak, it's going to be east-west first. and then the second time you hit it, it's going to do the north-south flip, or the front to back. So we do that again, and then now it's flipped over. Another thing to note is that the base of the back of the cabinet is now always maintaining the same axis. So no matter which way I rotate it, which way I flip it, it's always going to maintain the back at that same spot. So now that we've explored that, let's go back to the main floor plan here. We've got this. My favorite way to set up these cabinets is to just use the align tool. So just do align, I zoom way in, find the edge of the drywall, click it once to set what I want to align to, and then I want to click what I'm aligning to that line. So hit there, and then it's in place. So you can go here, go like this, boom, done. Now I'm going to add in some other cabinets just so that we can kind of have something a little more to work with here. Let's do this angled unit, hitting the space again to rotate. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a little bit of an island. So I'm going to go with the 48-inch here, so that's the back. And we can just place them willy-nilly. Funny word, happens to describe a lot of interesting stuff. Doesn't really matter, you guys don't care. So to get this all aligned up, so that what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up so that my cabinets face in an L shape right here. So what's going to happen is it's going to have a little bit of a jutting out here, and that's going to kind of act like a bar, kind of like an island, but it's just going to be attached to the main body. So that's why I put this angled unit in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the align command, and I'm actually going to align this cabinet here, the sink cabinet, along with this corner unit all at the same time up with this wall here. So I want to click on the outside of the drywall that I want to align to. Press and hold the control button, and then I can click this line here, and it will align there. And then I'll click the back of the other cabinet, and it will align them all at one time. Saves me a little bit of time and trouble. Re-click the align command. You can escape and re-click it, whatever suits your fancy. And then we're going to go drywall align. And what we can do, because I did not hold the control command there, I can just click there, align those two bad boys up, and you can align these guys up. I'm going to place one more because, that's always cool. Just something different so you guys can see what's going on here most of the time. So that's at the back. And sometimes, usually what will happen with cabinets is they'll snap together as well, which is kind of nice. Nice thing about Revit is it's very intuitive that way. But so, just so you guys can see what I've done, I'm going to draw a 3D view from the camera. So I'm going to click, point, and shoot the view range. I get to see what's going on here. Drag this open so I can actually see everything. And again, because I didn't change it when I was in the floor plan actually initially placing the cabinets, you can see again they're half above the ground and half below the ground. And as Mr. LaRoche says, no big woof. Just click Control, click, click. Come over here to the fin grade where it says fin grade for the level, which is the constraint. Just do finish floor. Move off the tab, we're good to go. So that's what we're working with here. We've got a sink here, a sink unit here, with 2 doors on the bottom, a corner unit, some drawers, a drawer, and a cupboard at the bottom. So saying I want to flip that around, you just click it, hit the space bar, knob moves over to the handle moves over to the other side, we're good to go. So now with doing countertops, again, is fairly easy to figure out. Again, we're just going to go over the Architecture tab, hit Component, Load Family, go back to Casework, Countertops, and we don't want one with sink quite yet, but we can just do, we don't want the island, we can do L-shaped. L-shaped, I like the sound of that one. L-shaped with sinkhole 2, L-shaped with sinkhole 1. So the difference between these two ones is this one's got the little angled bit right there, which is what we have on the project, as opposed to this one, which goes directly into the corner. Some people set them up so that you get cabinets that just go right into the corner instead of having the angled unit. I, however, like the angled unit. So what I'm going to do is, if I just want to place, if I were just to use this one, that would be okay, but I'm going to use this one. Now this is where it gets a little bit tricky because, as you can see, I'll place this in here first. Escape. Come over here, we'll align that and that. that, and that. So this, again, we can see it's finished grade because I keep forgetting to change it because I have my moments. We're going to bring that up to our level. So to size this correctly to our these cabinets that we put in, I usually just use the drag tabs because sometimes it's a little bit easier. Sometimes Revit doesn't like cooperating, but we can do anything. We can do that. We can do the align, and it doesn't adjust anything. So I would just do align, probably the easiest way to do it. Now we know that we have the sinkhole, the hole for the sink on the wrong side, because when we go to our view, we can see that our sink components here, our sink, the casework for the sink is right there, whereas these are all drawers. So what we want to do is we want to move that hole. So what we're going to have to do is I'm going to do a little bit of problem solving, go up to the main floor plan, click on it, and I want to edit the family. And what I can do from here is I can go to the top view. Now this is part of what I'll cover in another video. I'm just going to do it very quickly so that y'all can see what's going on. What this is basically, this family is a mass and it's an extrusion. Just like how in AutoCAD, how you have, when you're making boxes, you would draw a rectangle and then you would extrude it up in X number of dimensions for whatever you need. So this one I'm just going to do very quickly. Edit the component, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to move, oops, I'm going to select all these guys first because that's the important part, all these fillets and whatnot, and I'm just going to move it because I'm plain and I'm simple. I'm a simple man. I like to think my thing's simple. So I just move it over here, rotate it 90 degrees because it is a rectangle. And I'm going to maintain that same. So they're no longer parallel. That's okay. Remove reference. I don't care. I know I'm changing it around like this. So I'm going to take these guys. What is going on there? Control Z that. If you ever get in a fix, Control Z is wonderful. Remove that, because that's probably what's screwing with me here. Because we're pretty much in the realm of custom stuff now, so there's no point in maintaining those dimensions. So I'm going to rotate. Why is Revit not liking me today? Really all this becomes is a moving of lines, which is pretty easy to do. Sometimes you get those little dialog boxes that pop up and it's rather frustrating, but you know, that's the name of the game. Just got to keep toying around with it. That's one thing I've learned, is that everything that happens, you always just got to keep messing around with it. Okay, so one thing I know about this cabinet is that this edge here is the edge of the cabinet below it. So if I want it to be even like that, I can take this line, I can remove the references. This is just something I do. This is a very unconventional use of AutoCAD, or Revit, sorry. And but whatever, I'm going to delete that line in the end, but it's just a reference line for me. So right here we've got 2 feet 11. So we can divide that by 2. What you don't see here is I'm going to pull out my construction calculator once I dig it out from underneath all these things. And I'm just going to punch in 2 feet 11 inches divided by 2 because I'm lazy. And we realize that the midpoint is 1 foot 5.5 inches. So I know this. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take this line, midpoint, down until I get to 1 foot 5, 1 feet, 5.5 inches. And then we got that. So that's the midpoint between these two guys. And to make my life easy, again, I'm going to do some reference lines and say endpoint here to endpoint here, endpoint here to endpoint here, and that'll give us the middle. So I'm going to take all of these things. Once again, just doing the good old highlight. Sometimes it's easier if you move it out of the way at first, but I sometimes am stubborn. So I take the midpoint, and I snap to it, and then I snap to the end point of this guy. And that is putting me directly in the center. So deleting all these lines so that I don't get any errors popping up, I hit this check mark, which reads finish edit mode. So I'm going to finish the edit. Constraints are not satisfied. Constraints, that's okay. I don't care about the constraints. So now, because I've edited this, I want to load it into the project. I want to overwrite the existing version because I don't care about it right now. So I'm going to load it in, and that should work. If I go to my 3D view, it doesn't look like it has. Whoops, wrong view. Yeah, so it's worked. It's not showing up in that view just because Revit sometimes does weird things like that. I can't explain it, but that's the way she goes. So that is the width of our sinkhole. If I wanted to put that big of a sink in there, I could. If I wanted to change it, I could just go back to my main floor plan, edit the family, and then I can change it from here. Or I can say, it's not really that way, it's this way. Because really what's being satisfied right now is the constraints of this distance here is what's being satisfied at the end of the day. So I'm just going to Control-Z that because I don't want to change that. Load it in the project because I'm not really caring right now. It's just there, and then if I wanted to add a sink in there, all I would have to do is load one of those and then fire it in there. If I wanted to change, again, the size of that hole in comparison with the sink, it would just take a, going back to the editing family and then selecting this part, the main actual countertop, and then just editing the extrusion, which I'll go more in depth in my next video. So that's that. Hopefully that helps out a little bit with the modeling in place and setting up cabinets. So yeah, onwards to the next video, which is going to be designing cabinets from scratch by Massing Insight.